I have one set for April 16th.
Why?
I will fucking.
I don't even buy these kinds of things.
Wait, when is yours?
April,
That was awesome.
Alright guys, how's everybody doing today?
Amazing! How are you?
Amazing!
Sweet. Okay.
No, really, how are you?
Fine.
Great!
Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot to
No
say
wonder
that
nobody's
yesterday.
sitting next to Joey.
I did. Let me flaunt it.
Jesus.
Alright guys, I got a couple things to ask.
Yeah.
I know of a church that needs a soprano and a tenor to work at it, if anybody is interested.
Tell
They
me
also
more.
need a baritone or a bass for just Easter. So, if anybody knows anybody or is interested, just ask me.
Do you feel
Okay.
Yeah,
Is this St. Martin's?
No.
Oh, okay.
But it's they have a really awesome music program.
No, where is it?
It's like north of St. Martin's. It's called Our Lady of Walsingham.
How much do they
What?
want?
That's a name?
I think it's pretty good.
Pretty good or really good?
I don't know exactly. I
What
don't
kind
know.
of church is it?
It is an Episcopal Catholic church.
What?
It's like this. It's kind of awesome actually. It's this church that's like. There are these Episcopal churches that decided they wanted to be Catholic again,
Ugh,
and so they joined the Catholic Church, and John Paul II like canonized them. So there are Catholic priests that are married that work there. It's kind of awesome. And they just had it. They just got a bishop and everything. So it's not Catholic. Yeah, it is. It's Catholic.
Do you know when the rehearsal is?
Backward stage.
I'm not 100% sure. But if you're interested, I will find out and let you
Put my
know. Okay.
initials backwards.
We all cool?
Is it really backwards?
It's like a Sunday morning joke.
says?
Right.
Oh,
Alright,
back-
good.
backwards.
So then, for the tests, if you got a bad grade, I want to give you an opportunity to get more points on it. You can,
What is a bad grade?
but it's up to you. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to let you do. Okay, so if you got a bad grade, I want you, if you want to get half of your points back, I want you to write out what you did wrong on the question and what's right about it. So like the right answer, but like more in depth than you would have written on the test. Okay?
Love that.
Okay. But like in depth. Okay? Not like one
How much
sentence.
is in depth? Like 5 sentences, 6 sentences?
There are 4 or 5 sentences, something like
Okay.
that. So like look in the book, be like on page whatever, Scott McCoy says this about whatever. Okay. That kind of thing. For each question you got wrong. Yep. Yep.
Do you have my pen?
Yes, I do.
See how we.
So I just want you to be like, to absolutely know the answer if you can do that, right? Because you're doing it after the test. And is that okay with everybody in the class? Is that good?
Yes,
Okay, because I have to ask if it's okay.
seems fair.
Great.
I agree. It is a fair thing.
It is a fair thing. Great, okay. As far as the schedule goes, we're like super ahead of schedule.
Nice.
Like almost a whole unit. And I just like realized this the other day. So I have a proposal, okay?
Ah.
If we move things up sooner, I can cancel class during Tech Week of Midsummer.
Yeah, amazing.
Love that.
I like where your head's at.
That was.
Okay, because that opera is really long. We'll be having lots of rehearsals late into the night, and it's just would be a lot.
Everything is a
Okay, so what that means is we would have the test for the anatomy and phonations, the respiration and phonation stuff together, which means it's a lot of information. Okay,
Will it still be on the Thursday?
it'll still be before spring break.
The Thursday before spring break?
Yep. Okay, it'll still be before spring break, but I'll put both of those things on that test, okay? And I'll give you the same option if everybody's cool with that. If you get something wrong, you can get half the points if you write a thing about why you got it wrong and what was that, okay?
Love it.
Okay, sweet. Because I want you guys to know the information more than I want you to get bad grades, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I think that's more important than like just as me for everything. So then we wouldn't have class for spring break, and then I think the week after spring break is Tech Week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I will make that all official, and then we'll do all that, okay? Would that be cool?
Yeah.
Because then we would be like way ahead of schedule, and then after Midsummer starts, then we would do the registration chapter, and then the hearing and everything, and then so everything would kick back up, okay? Is that cool with everybody?
Yep.
Alright, I just think since we have the lecture.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
But it's not, you guys are the ones who understand it quickly enough to get through it. You know? So, alright,
Geniuses.
cool.
Baby.
So then can we do some review of the respiration anatomy
Shuff.
before we start talking about venation?
Shuff.
Great. Alright, so I'm just basically going through what I talked about over the last 2 days, okay? And all this stuff that I talk about will be on the test. So if you're taking notes from this is like what I would test you on, right? Great. Okay, so the skeletal has 2 different parts to it. Yeah, we talked about this was like the first slide in this chapter. Do you guys remember what they were?
Skeletal.
Skeleton has 2 different like names we used to describe parts of it. Yeah, one was axial.
Good choice.
Whoa.
That sounds right. That sounds really right.
Well, it's the one that means distal.
Extremity.
And,
Appendicular,
I got the first 2.
right? Like appendages.
Aha.
Aha. Okay. Cool. So we can say like our hands are on the appendicular skeletons there.
Extremities.
Right. Good. Cool. Alright. Then there was the sacrum, which is our what bone?
Tailbone.
Backbone.
It's your whole pelvis bone.
Your
Is the sacrum, is the big sacrum. Okay. And then there are 3 parts to the sacrum, right?
The crown part.
Iliac crest.
Iliac crest,
That's all I got.
that's all you got? Okay.
What crest?
The iliac crest. The coccyx. Is that one? Is that
I don't think that counts.
The pubic bone's one of them.
Pubic bone.
The ilium, the pubis, and the
Ischium, yeah, that's right. Right, so the ischium's like the big part of it. We're talking about this side. So we could name these things. Yes, okay, great.
Pronounce the purple one.
The purple one, ischium.
Ischium, okay.
It's Latin.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. Good, and then there are 2 vertebrae that are on top of the spine that are called what? I'm hiding it because it's on.
The atlas.
Cervicals.
No, that's more than.
Atlas is one of them.
Axis.
Axis, right. So those are the 2 parts that help our skull
Your head around it.
move around, right, good. And so they're these 2.
Oh yeah, because the guy, Atlas.
Holds the world, you know, which is in your brain. Okay, cool. So we're just going, it's okay that you guys don't have this like right now, but I'm just going through it so that you know what we have to know. Good, so we got those 2 vertebrae, and then there's different processes on the spinal vertebrae that we have to know the names of. Do you remember?
Cervical.
No, the pieces of the vertebrae themselves.
It's the pieces of the vertebrae that stick out that muscles attach to. Right?
Well, there's a spinous process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
That's the dude that's like the bumps on your back.
Yep,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
it's the straight line of bumps on your back,
Yeah.
right? And then there's another one too.
Transverse.
Transverse, right.
Oh, yeah.
And which one's that?
Those are the ones that do this.
Yep, and there's 2 of them, right?
They-
Sweet. Good. Then there's 4 parts of the spine. There's like 4 different names we have for parts of it.
The cervical.
Cervical.
Which is your cervical is your
Cervical is your
Right here.
neck. How many?
7.
7.
Seven.
Oh, 7.
Oh.
Cervical, lumbar,
Thoracic.
Cervical, thoracic, lumbar.
Yeah.
and
Fixed.
coccyx.
The coccyx isn't part of it. Sacrum.
Sacrum.
So those are vertebrae that are fused together. Your whole, like your hip bones are vertebrae that are just like fused together. Right. It's like, you can see them if you look like on the.
What?
We'll do that next time. But if you look on that program that I had, you can like go in and see, you can see like where the ridges are and everything. It's kind of good.
Other mammals.
Yeah, okay, so we had
Together, and that's why.
top 7, right? Thoracic are the middle 12, and the lumbar are the bottom 5. And you name them like C1, C2, C3, that's kind of how you name them. And so C1 would be which vertebrae?
The atlas.
The very first
Axis.
line at the top of the
This one.
tag.
Atlas. Yep, Atlas is on top of the axis.
So are the atlas and the axis on top of those 24 vertebrae, or are they the top 2 of the cervical
The
vertebrae?
top 2 of the cervical.
Fabulous.
You're overwhelmed.
It needs a moment. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Alright, so then our thorax, what is our thorax?
The middle part.
Your middle part, yes, exactly. Great, and so we have how many ribs?
12.
Okay, and is there a different number between male and female?
Well, one more.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
That's biblical.
Oh, that's good.
It's a lot happening.
Okay, there are, some people have like, never mind, it's too
That's
complicated.
Adam.
Okay, so there's 3 different classifications of your ribs, yeah? The first one is 1 through 4 are attached to your sternum in a certain way.
Cartilage.
Yeah, by the costal cartilage, right?
Yeah.
So they have their own cartilage that connects it to the
So
sternum.
we call them costal vertebrae, or costal.
Ribs.
They're just attached to the sternum by costal cartilage. Okay. So the ribs 1 through 4 are attached by costal cartilage. They don't have like a special name like cervical or thoracic or whatever. Okay.
Attached by costal cartilage.
Yep. And then the 5 through 10 are attached how?
Just.
Yeah.
But
they all, like-
attaches to each other.
They all like, the cartilage comes together.
I see them.
So that's what, it's like tree branches.
To each other.
Yeah. Good. And then there's 11 through 12 are attached how?
Free.
They're free floating. That's right. Everybody's just looking up my slides and they're cheating you.
No, it's not a test.
I know it's not a test. Okay, great. So, and then your sternum is what?
This.
Yep, it's about your breastbone, right?
Yep, and it has the side foot process at the tip.
Yep, but you break when you do CPR, people, okay. And then there's 3 different parts of it, right? The top part is the manubrium,
Manubrium.
yep. And then the middle part is the
Illubrium.
corpus.
The corpus.
Yeah, and the bottom part is the xiphoid process, right? So if you ever, so what I do when I like look at all these things up, I try to find them on my dogs. It's weird, I know. So like I feel my dogs and I'm like, where's his ribs go? And their manubrium is a lot bigger because it goes up. Because their rib cage is designed to be like horizontal,
Oh, mhm.
and ours is vertical. So their manubrium has like a spike that goes up a little bit, and you can feel it on them. It's kind of cool, actually.
I also like dogs.
Dogs are awesome. My dogs are especially awesome. Okay. Alright, good. So that's what we need to know about bone structure, okay? I want you to be able to like draw the spine and label it. Okay? So the fact that it is curved is important, right? It looks like an S because then it's springy. So
Like a bat.
So when you say draw, do you mean just like the general shape with like little circles for the vertebrae, or do you want like
I mean like an
large
S,
shapes?
just an S,
Love that.
and then go 1 through 7 on top or cervical.
Love that so much.
Exactly. Draw as horribly as you want to. Great. Okay, so the lungs, right? We have how many lungs? 2. 2 lungs.
Got that one.
Awesome. How many lobes do we have?
On the right side, there's 3. On the left side, there's 2.
Right. Why is there only 2?
Because of the heart.
Because of the heart. That's
Always
right.
open.
Okay. Awesome.
It's always open.
And then so the lungs are. It's always open. And the lungs are attached to your ribcage by what?
The pleural side.
Pleural membrane.
Yep. Exactly. And so it's water permeable. Blah blah blah. Good. And then the path of the air to go into your lungs is what?
Trachea, bronchial tubes,
Mhm.
then tinier bronchial
Pleural
tubes,
side.
then like smaller
Broccoli.
one more
Alveoli.
and then alveoli.
Broccoli.
Yeah, alveolar sacs and the alveoli, right? And you have like tons of alveoli, right? So I've asked you a bonus question about how many alveoli there are.
How many are there?
I don't know, look on the slides.
Oh.
20,000.
Okay, and then we talked about Boyle's Law, which was,
Oh, when you breathe in,
How did I demonstrate it?
Paper.
The marshmallow?
Nope.
No. Marshmallow.
That's Bernoulli effect.
Boyle's
Boyle's law, not
Boyle's
Bernoulli.
law is marshmallow
Oh,
with the syringe.
Bernoulli effect is the two pieces of paper, right?
Yes.
that's right, that's good.
Bernoulli effect is the airplane thing.
Pressure
That's
and
right,
volume
that's
are inversely related.
Right.
Boyle's law.
So if the volume goes up, what happens to the pressure?
Goes down.
Goes down, and if the pressure goes up,
Volume goes down.
volume goes down. Right. Okay, cool. I mean, it makes total sense.
I mean,
Right.
Awesome. And what was the equation for that?
PV equals
Right. Where P is
total no,
Pressure.
pressure.
Oh.
V is, and K is, K is just constant.
Oh.
So it means that they're inversely related.
Mm.
Because when you do it with math, it's just like,
Right.
So there's a Boyle's constant running around somewhere?
it's like one.
Oh,
Right. So it means that they're inversely
Well,
proportional.
what do the package nice, just like.
why don't you say B? It's B, Cody.
What is one?
Okay, great. Alright, so that was the first half, the stuff we talked about the first day, right? Do you guys want to go through the next part, or should we start talking about phonation right now?
either way.
Either way, let's do the review, and then we'll do all this review again next time.
Boom, baby.
Because there's gonna be a lot of junk on this test, because we're cutting off the 2 days, okay? Lots of junk, lots of knowledge that you will regurgitate.
That's
That's it. Okay, so primary muscles of inspiration.
External intercostals and the diaphragm.
Yep, so there's 2.
Yep.
So if you know that number, it's probably easier to figure out, right? If I'm like, oh, I know there's 2, it's gonna be these 2, okay? Right, so the diaphragm, I want you to be able to draw a picture of it, which it looks like what?
Upside down salad bowl.
Upside down salad bowl that is kind of U-shaped, right?
Like a big,
What?
like a modern salad bowl.
A modern, so, and it's like silver and everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Tray on one part.
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay, so
Like a little.
it does that, and then when it contracts, what does it do?
Flattened.
Flat.
Buttons, right?
To a
Which makes the volume of the lungs do what?
increase.
Increase, awesome. And then the external intercostals are where?
Outside the ribs in between.
Yep, good. And when you contract them, what do they do?
The ribs go up and down.
Yep,
They
like
pull
that. Yep. Because they're external,
they
right?
pull to each other, right?
Yeah, because they pull up. So if their origin is on the top rib and their insertion is the bottom rib, they pull up, right? Whereas the internal intercostals, we'll talk about in a second, are the other way, right? Okay, which, oh, look, internal intercostals.
Plus,
Well, you don't say.
I know, what did I say? Okay, so primary exhalation muscles are what?
The abdominals.
Abdominals.
Yep,
and
which,
the
so there's how many abdominal muscles?
4, 5. Is
5.
that quadratus? That one is included in
There's
the
6
abdominals,
back.
even
And the
though it's like
rectus
broken
abdominis is
down,
another
it's
one.
not actually like part of this.
Ian, you're in a
situation.
It's in the back,
Yeah, that's included in that.
Yes.
abdomen.
yes. Because it is a primary muscle of expiration, because without it, your back would just pop
But
up.
it's considered an abdominal muscle.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Good, so we have 5 of those, right? And then the other, so there's 5 abdominal muscles, and then there's one other muscle.
Internal or.
Right, internal intercostals. So the internal intercostals do what?
close the rib cage.
Close the ribcage, compress it.
That causes you to squeeze when you sing.
Because it's just, you have to use them to do breast support. Anyway. Good, and so we had the 5 muscles of the abdomen, which were, which ones? Let's go through them.
Rectus abdominis.
Rectus abdominis, transverse.
Okay, let's talk about each one as we do it. Okay, so the rectus abdominis does, is which one?
That pulls you like this, right?
It's the 6-pack one, right, that makes you go,
Oh, sorry, say that one more time.
it's the 6-pack one,
Aha, okay.
and it's the one with the bellies that the belly dancer does stuff with,
Oh, the coin video.
right? Yeah. So if you remember the examples, it helps. That's why I put them in there.
Never forget.
Okay, and then the external obliques,
Those go to
Oh,
side.
those are between outside of the ribs, though, right?
But under the rectus
But under the
abdominis,
rectus
right?
abdominis.
they're not, the rectus abdominis isn't over or under anything.
Well, I thought they were like.
Yeah, they're on the side, right?
Yeah.
So they're external and they go like this,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The rectus abdominis is in the middle, so they don't go, because
Oh,
there's
I
that
thought
thing
they,
called
like,
the
inserted
aponeurosis
under it.
that it all connects to, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't, they don't connect to each other. Okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just clarifying. Good, so that is the external obliques. Internal obliques do, yep, so if it's this way, then it's that way, right?
Those are the internal ones?
Yep. And then we talked about rectus, the transverse abdominis.
That's under everything, just go straight across.
Yeah, so
What
it's
it does
horizontal,
is like,
right?
it doesn't change size,
Right, but why is that, what does it do then?
just hardens,
Right, which helps you do what?
stabilize your core.
Exactly. Because it gives like a base for everything to move around. And then we had the quadratus lumborum, which is which one?
In the back.
Is that the back or right?
Makes you stand up straight.
It's the lower one,
Lumbar. So.
but it's an abdominal muscle, right? Let's look at the picture. So it's this one,
Got it.
okay? It's not the erector spinae muscles, which is what you were thinking of, I think.
Yeah, the one with like the three.
Yeah. That's secondary. Okay. So those are the primary ones, right guys?
Mhm.
That's what is super important for you to know for this class.
Yeah.
The secondary ones are also important, which we'll go over. But cool.
Mhm.
What time is it? Jack said he was coming. Oh, he's right there. Okay, sorry. You have to leave early now.
Nailed it.
9:47. So we've been. Why don't we move on and talk about phonation? And we'll talk about the secondary ones next week, okay? Rather than doing review for 40 minutes.
Cool.
Into it.
So if you guys look at that stuff, like just between now and then, so you can kind of review it. Oh, right. Phonation. Now we get to talk about what actually happens with our voice. We spent all this time talking about, you know, all the muscles and what we do with this and that, and why is it not? Okay. Now we actually get to talk about all the muscles that are in our larynx and all that. Yep. Exciting day. All right. So I'm gonna turn the lights down. So this, the vocal folds. This is what vibrates to make our sound, right? We talked about this briefly in the introduction to everything. They are small tissues on the anterior posterior plane at the top of the airway that open and close the glottis. Okay, so what is anterior and posterior again?
Anterior is the front.
Yep, good. So that means that they run this way, right? Front to back. Awesome. And does anybody know what the glottis is?
It's the space between the.
Right, so it's the space between the vocal folds. It is not an actual thing, right? It is a space. Good. It took me forever to realize that when I first learned this.
Epiglottis.
Where is my glottis? I can't label it.
But the epiglottis is a thing.
The epiglottis is a
Glottis is not.
Yep,
Got it.
right. Because glottis means opening.
And the epiglottis is on top of the open.
Yes.
Got it.
Yep. Good. So they're very small, tiny, tiny things. They're 18 millimeters in women, 22 millimeters in men. Give or take your voice type, right? Yep. Because remember, your lung size is proportional to your vocal fold size. Yada yada. Only about 3/4 of your folds actually vibrate when you are singing, so it's not the whole thing. So there's a little bit on each side that doesn't actually have the mucosal waves that goes through. Does that make sense? Chelsea looks confused.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm just thinking really hard about what I'm saying.
Okay, great. That
We're
like
gonna
people.
talk about what exactly the mucosal wave is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Totally.
because that's always confused me.
Okay. So they're not strings, so you can't ever call them vocal cords, right? Because they're not. So they're vocal folds. That's how we refer to them. Okay.
Oh.
And especially they're not vocal cords with an H. Somebody wrote that on their paper.
Unless you can sing multiple pitches at once.
Yeah, sure, okay, Chelsea.
There are people that can do it.
Oh, I know, I've seen them.
But then, unless you can see 3 pitches.
Alright, so they look like a letter V, right? So if they're open, this is the letter V, right? And they adduct and abduct from one point, right there. Do you all know what adduct and abduct mean?
Yes.
Open and close, good. You were all about that on your papers when you were writing. Okay. Good, terms, we talked about the glottis, space between the folds, not an actual structure. Ventricular folds are the false folds. We talked about those briefly, that's that growl voice, right? That thing. You can always feel it happen when you do it. They're cranial, which means they're more towards the head,
What
right?
is their purpose other than to create that growl sound?
That's what their purpose is. But so other mammals use it all the time. So like my dogs
Right.
always growl after things. But that's what they do. And so they have, right, yeah.
I'm not very good.
And then, you know, like monkeys use them for things and everything. I mean, so they like exist, we just don't use them that much. Somebody's making jokes. Okay, epiglottis is a curved structure of tissue that covers the glottis when swallowing. It's this thing right there. We saw it in the pictures, it looks like that big old flag thing that doesn't look like it belongs anywhere. Yeah. Good, so here's another view of all of it. This is from, does anybody know which view it is? With the names?
Posterior view.
Yep, posterior. So from the back, right?
See, I think of it as like a closed door.
Posterior.
We get all this?
Studio.
Questions?
Is this in our
Yes.
color?
Yes, it is actually.
Just wondering.
I just didn't go through and put the plates because I'm a student. That's it. And that's actually the reason why I got this one and not another one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think it's 7-1.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Thanks.
Yeah.
Good to know.
There's other ones.
There's also 3-6.
Yep, and 7-4. Yeah, so they're in there. I'll go through and relabel the slides. I just forgot to do it. You cool with that? So we can go through and color everything, but I'll let you know when I have to. Okay, so the vocal fold structure. This is what it looks like if we cut it this way, right? So we get, this is the mucosal covering, the epithelium, and then the muscle is inside here, okay? Because the vocal folds are actually a muscle, right? The whole thing is a muscle. And so when we tense that muscle, it thickens, right? And so we get lower tones. We'll talk about this more. Okay. All right, so there's this thing called the lamina propria that actually has 3 different levels to get to the muscle. So the epithelium is the outside, that's the part that vibrates. And then these get more and more dense as you go down. Viscous is the term that they like to use because they're a little liquid.
Gross. Love it.
So the superficial one is lighter, then we get the intermediate, and the deep layer is the most dense. Okay? So because of those 3 layers, we get waves that kind of, it's like gelatin that moves. Okay?
So it's not mucus on top of it.
There is mucus on top.
Well, I know that, but this also vibrates, right?
Yeah.
Then why do we?
Why do we call it mucosal wave?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we just do. Okay. Alright, so the epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium. It's the outermost layer, so it's this white right here. Epithelium means skin cells, squamous means interlocked, and stratified means becomes larger as they go deeper. So when it's not as big up here, it's like smaller, and then it gets larger. The cells get larger as we go deeper. Okay? Does that make sense how that would work?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Also called mucosa, it's because it's always covered in mucus. Okay, so that's where we get the mucosa name from.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it's not like a bunch of snot on your vocal folds. It is vibrating when you put air through. Okay, it's an actual structure that vibrates. Okay, and it's very little. So remember, if we're talking about in females, they're like 18 millimeters, and men they're 22 something. You know, so they're just bigger. That's like that big, right? You know, it's like 2 centimeters. Really small. Okay, the entire respiratory tract is covered with epithelium. So even from like your nose down into all this, it's covered with epithelium, which makes it so that the mucus can travel on it and keep it hydrated and everything. Okay? Cool? And we'll discover when we do the health things, part of the reason that smoking is so bad for you is it screws up your epithelium and dries it out and like cracks it and stuff. But that also means that really dry air is bad for you. So. The only SSE on the vocal folds otherwise is called the columnar epithelium, okay? So it has that name when it's on the vocal folds, otherwise it's called columnar. You don't have to know those terms, I'm just going over it so that you can save these slides and be like, oh, I remember when Mr. Besh was telling me about this. So, okay.
Mr. Besh.
Or Chris, whatever you want to call me, I don't know. All my life, high school kids have to call me Mr. Besh. Beneath the folds, the epithelium is ciliated, so that means under in the vocal tract down there, it's covered with hairs, and the hairs move the mucus through your lungs and everything. Okay? Does that make sense? Because without it, it would just go, and it wouldn't like really flow very well. How does that sound again? Yep. Okay, lamina propria. It's a transitional layer between the epithelium and the vocalis muscle. So the vocalis muscle is the muscle, and the epithelium is the covering, and the lamina propria is what's in between. Okay, so it's like the transitional tissue that goes through. Yeah? Awesome. Separated into 3 layers by viscosity, which is thickness of fluid. Like, if you guys ever buy oil for your car, and it's like 10W40, or like 10W30, or 35, or whatever, it's talking about the viscosity of the oil. Because you want a different kind of oil if it's hotter or colder, wherever you are. Okay? Yeah. But we live in Texas, so we always keep the same kind. Alright, separated in 3 layers. To the presence of the elastin and collagen fibers, they're just like things that make it tougher. Okay? So there's something that makes it more viscous. So water has low viscosity, it flows easily, and oil has high viscosity, so it flows slower. Yeah? Yep. Cool. Become more viscous as the Golgi vocal ligament passes through the intermediate layer, right here. So like I would say that might be the vocal ligament. There's a good diagram in the McCoy book on page 103. If you want to see it. Yeah. It kind of looks just like this. So McCoy says epithelium is like the skin on your hand, and the lamina propria is like the muscle beneath it. Make sense?
Yes, I think that's a good.
Mucosal wave. Okay, the epithelium mucosa is what actually vibrates, so it's the epithelium, it's not the mucus. Okay? It buzzes like a lip trill when you do it, it's just like, that's how it happens, right? Impairing this wave is what results in vocal pathology. So if you get nodes or something like that, you're making it so that wave doesn't vibrate evenly. Okay? And then I think, I don't know if the sound's gonna work. Okay, so you see how like the skin of the epithelium cover is what's moving.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And remember, so this is happening like way faster than we're seeing it happen because they do it with strobe lights so that it slows down. Okay? Okay, let's just watch it a little bit. And see how it's the V shape?
Yeah.
Your Adam's apple would be down here.
So which part isn't vibrating? Oh. Is that it?
Like right here? See there's like a little part?
Yeah, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Wait, what?
It's not vibrating.
It's not vibrating.
So remember when I said that like 3/4 of the vocal folds only vibrate?
Uh-huh.
There's part, so this is a girl that's got a breathy voice, so there's a chink in the back of her vocal folds. That part would, yeah. When you close it, then that part doesn't vibrate either. So we see how there's like a part here that's not vibrating all the time? That's what I meant. Make sense? Could the we move on?
I guess.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yes.
Alright, vocal fold oscillation. How do we get the vocal folds to oscillate? The muscles can't fire fast enough to open and close the waves as fast as we need to, which is sometimes like 1,000 times, 2,000 times a second, right? A high C is like 1,000 hertz. So our nerves can't go that fast, right? And that's actually how they like discovered that this doesn't happen. They figured out how fast your nerves fire, and then they're like, hey, our voices have like a much higher rate of use than that. So clapping, like we can only do like 13 or 17. Yeah, you can't actually do it that fast. No. So the airflow has to help it like come together, right? Which is where we get into the Bernoulli effect. All right, so there's 3 different theories to how the vocal folds oscillate, and these build upon each other. Okay. So this gets a little weird. Okay. So we talked about myoelastic aerodynamic in one of the first classes. Remember when we were doing like the intro stuff? So myoelastic aerodynamic, that's the first one. Then there's the 1-mass model which builds upon that, and then there's a 3-mass model. And you'll understand how this goes, and I'll double check to make sure you know what we're doing. Okay.
No worries.
So the myoelastic aerodynamic. The myo means muscle. Elastic means it's taut like a rubber band, and aerodynamic means that it uses air with it. And this is where we get the Bernoulli effect idea. Okay. This is all coming from the fact that we can't get our folds to clap 1,000 times a second to create a note. Okay. So when they were like, hey, that doesn't happen, we got to come up with how it works. And so this is where we got the Bernoulli effect. In fluid flow, increase the speed of fluid results in a decrease of pressure, right? So if you have a garden hose and you're putting fluid through it, if it's moving faster, there's less pressure on the hose, so it's easy to squeeze it, right? But then when you squeeze the hose and you stop it, it's harder to squeeze the part that's pressurized because the fluid's not flowing through it. Make sense? That's Bernoulli effect. This is also the same thing that makes airplanes fly.
So this is just the Bernoulli effect,
Mm-hmm. Mostly.
mostly,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's the same amount of flow through a smaller space requires more speed. So this is like the 2 sheets of paper example I had, a traffic jam, and water through the hose. So this model can't sustain oscillation just on its own. There has to be other things that help it go. And that's where we get to the other theories. Okay? Make sense? Good. So the 1-mass model.
Oh, we get to watch the building.
I love them. We could watch the theme song.
I think so. Advertisement.
Ooh,
crucifixion.
That's film about the life of Jesus. I wonder how long it's gonna take for people to start freaking out about this on Facebook.
Where is the speaker for
This
this?
isn't one of the actually like.
I think it should be
Not coming out on these.
It's not long. It's the Bill Nye theme song. Yes, can we all remember? Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the Science Guy. Oh,
Bill,
The science guy.
that's where we were going.
Guys, we're not gonna get to watch it. Shh. Guys.
No, we don't get to watch it because it's
That
not
was a
long.
great moment we just had.
No, we're not gonna get to watch it.
Okay, so for the 1-mass model, the addition of the physical vocal tract and inertia to the myoelastic aerodynamic model, okay? Inertia, the resistance of objects to change their physical state, so the vocal folds don't want to move from what they normally are when we put air through them, okay? So they always want to go back to what they were before. Objects in motion stay in motion unless acted upon by another force. So we have to keep pushing the pressure through to keep them vibrating. Does that make sense? So if we stop the airflow, they're going to stop moving.
That's right.
That's what inertia, okay?
So, okay, let me Okay, so Bernoulli effect is just like one shot of air, it comes together, like cool,
Yeah.
awesome. This is suggesting that in order to sustain that, you need to provide more air, right?
You have to have inertia.
Cool.
Okay, so when teachers tell you that you have to keep moving your air, you gotta keep rearticulating the vowel, yada, 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 that is exactly what they're talking about. When it comes to science, okay? Wait. Alright, so once the glottis closes in the myoelastic aerodynamic model, it's MA. Yeah, man, I'm sorry guys. The air above it keeps moving, creating low pressure directly beneath the glottis, okay? Do you guys understand this? So when the air goes through here, we go from 1, it closes like this, and then there's low pressure on the other side. And this area of low pressure helps bring the folds back together for the faster speeds. So it's like the Bernoulli effect goes this way, but it also goes this way.
You mean directly above, right?
Yep,
Okay.
I typed it wrong. I'm sorry, I'll fix it.
Okay.
That's what happens when you have to type 50 slides. I make mistakes. Guys. Okay, so above, there's the low pressure, so that draws them back together because it's that thing, okay? We'll go with that still? So that's the one mass model because there was another force that needed to bring them back together, okay?
Wait, how is that different than the Bernoulli?
It's the Bernoulli effect, but it's the other way. So the myoelastic aerodynamic is just getting them to come together like our lip trill. And then the one mass model is when there's low pressure on top of the vocal folds, helps bring them together too. So if I'm doing this, something like that, when it's closed here, there's lower pressure here. So that helps it bring, and then they open.
So these are just increasingly detailed accounts of how we function.
Exactly. Yep.
So they're not like different theories, they're just all part of the same.
They're building on top of one another. Yep,
Okay.
yep. So there's the one mass model in addition to the myoelastic aerodynamic. Then we get 3 mass model. Alright, so we had, this is what happens when the folds open asymmetrically. Okay, so they don't, remember that like parts of them are tighter than other ones, so the wave's gonna behave differently in other areas of the vocal fold, right? It appears that the wave travels from front to back during phonation. So if you see this, you can kind of see it. See how it like goes whoom, whoom. Okay, so it goes laterally. We'll see a wave start here, and it'll look like the wave goes this way. Okay, so we're getting another wave.
Isn't her front on the bottom though?
Yes,
So it
So
should be
not just
traveling from back to front.
yeah, from back to front. Did I write it wrong?
So the one mass,
Or is it wrong because of the stroke? No, you can say, okay, so it's this. So when it opens, it goes like this. See how it opens more? Because the way, so the rarefaction part of the wave, when it opens, is getting deeper here, but this is still closed. That's what it means. Okay?
so the one mass is talking about the things going this way, and 3 mass is talking about the things going this way.
Yes.
Like
Did the
that.
2 mass guy just have a bad publicist, or was there not like a?
I don't think there is a 2 mass part of it. So, because this is 3-dimensional, right? That's where we get the 3. Alright, so the mass of the 3 layers, this is working. The mass of the 3 layers of the lamina propria is different, so the wave has 3 smaller waves that it creates uneven pressure on the horizontal plane. Because of the lamina propria. Okay? Does all of this make sense?
I think.
So that 3 mass model is just an explanation of why the chords don't come together in exactly the same fashion throughout the
Yep.
distance of the curve. Okay.
Yep. That's what's important about it, okay? Is that we don't just go like this.
Not 2 parallel lines.
Right, it's like this. Yeah. I mean, we all like look at it and we're like, oh, that's exactly how all that stuff works. Because we see it all the time. But this is like why it happens.
Got it.
Right?
Love it.
Fabulous.
Okay, good. It's really not that complicated, and you're never gonna think about this when you're sitting behind it.
I mean, I might, and then they crash.
I mean, Alex might.
I might, and then I'll crash.
All right, structural anatomy. So this is going to talk about. Oh, let's see how much time we have. Oh, we got 30 minutes left. Good. So laryngeal framework. So male, your larynx is like the size of a walnut, right? If we all feel it, like it's like that big on me.
Like a walnut in the shell?
Oh my god.
Yes.
Important distinction.
I mean, yeah. Okay. Walnut. So female larynxes are usually like 40% smaller. Okay.
A small wall.
It helps. It's a small wall. It's a small nut.
A small nut.
Yeah.
Walnuts.
These, so the size difference are part of the reason why there's a difference in voice ranges, or where we have the formants, right? Because it affects the shape, the size of the tooth. So where our resonance happens, right? Yep. Can we move on?
Yes.
Sure. Awesome. So this is anatomy stuff. So we have to know these and identify them on pictures again, right? Awesome. Hyoid bone. This is the only bone that's in your vocal tract. Everything is attached to this thing. It is very annoying because if you learn the origins and insertions, part of the reason I didn't want you to learn that, because everything is attached to the hyoid bone. Hyoid bone when you get to this part, and so it doesn't help so much rather than the picture things. Okay. So it's the anterior of the neck, like right here. It sits like that. It's the only bone, there's no joint to any other bone, it's just kind of free floating. It's held by all kinds of different muscles. The only other bone with no joints are your kneecaps. Things you learn. Alright, the larynx hangs below it, right? Or down here.
That sounds like a bonus question to me.
Maybe, you'll see.
Now he's not gonna give us a bonus. Come on, it's all we have to.
Oh, gosh, sorry.
Ian's figuring out where I get my bonus questions. Okay.
Not from them, that's how.
Thyroid cartilage. Okay, so these things were in your debtor's book too, right? If you want to like look at those diagrams too. And I color coded all of it again. So it's shield-like, oid means like, and fire means shield. Right? So it looks like a shield. Encases our voice box. People ever talk about your voice box? This is what they're talking about. Right there. The Adam's apple is the anterior superior protrusion. It's more prominent in males. Like everybody has them. Okay, they're right there. You can feel the gap in between them. Last night I was petting my dog and I wanted to see if he had one. He had one too. So. Whatever.
Is he a boy dog or a girl dog?
I have two boy dogs. One's a pit bull Weimaraner and one's a golden doodle terrier. And they're crazy.
That's a little buddy.
Yeah, well, they're little buddies. Okay. So the anterior commissure, right here, is where the vocal folds attach and is right below the notch. Right in there. Yeah? Because anterior means in the front. In the front. Great. So that's when we were looking at the pictures of the vocal folds, it was where the V goes. Yeah? Awesome. Alright, so the superior horns, cornu. Okay, horns means cornu. So if you see superior cornu, they're talking about superior horns. Good. Posterior projections that attach to the hyoid bone, these guys right here. Can you see them?
Can you can't feel those, right?
I don't think so. They're like really far back in there. Yeah, your muscles are probably, I can't feel them. Yeah, okay. Yeah, everybody just sits here and feels it for a while. Okay, inferior horns are the ones on the bottom, down here.
And they're worse.
Yeah? So if I ask you to identify this stuff, that's the kind of thing you'd have to. Okay. Yep. Just making sure you know. Cricoid cartilage, shaped like a signet ring. So we're talking about this part right here. This is the other most important structure to your voice. So you get your thyroid cartilage, which is the big guy, and the cricoid cartilage is this one right here. It's shaped like a signet ring, so larger portions in the posterior, down here. Like if you imagine a ring, so that's the part that's like on the bottom of your finger, and you get a big ring, big old jewel right on top, right? Oh. But it's in your voice.
And that's the part that like, it looks like it fits into the thyroid cartilage, sort of?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So it's underneath it, and the inferior horns articulate with it. We'll see why that's important in just a second. I think we might get through all this stuff today. It all depends on how fast we go.
So the trachea hangs.
Yeah, so the trachea is below your cricoid cartilage. So this is your trachea that goes to your lungs, right? So basically, your larynx is supposed to be the valve that shuts off your lungs when it needs to be shut off. If you're swallowing or something, you know what I mean? So that's where all this evolved from. And then we came up with voices and all that stuff, so. It's connected to the thyroid cartilage by the synovial joints at the inferior horns, right here. Synovial joints are enclosed and contain synovial fluid, lubricant, which ensure fluidity. And, yeah,
So those ball joints, is that why the thyroid cartilage can tilt forward
Yep.
during phonation? Okay, so it just tilts on that little ball.
well, so there's two. Each superior horn there's a joint with it. So because they're on either side of the thyroid cartilage.
Sure.
And so it's like this.
And just goes,
Okay. Because there's two. Okay. So it doesn't do any of this.
just
backwards.
forward.
No, it's just forward back. Yep. That will be made apparent in a second. So arytenoid cartilages. So this is a model of your larynx. Okay. I was gonna buy one of these, but they're like $500.
It's not that cool for $500.
I know. I was like,
You're
but
not
you'll see,
worth
you all are gonna make your own.
I am excited.
What? Okay. So these sit on the posterior portion of the cricoid cartilage, right? So they sit like on the ring part, the lower one. Okay. The fat part, so on the signet part, and they're shaped like droopy little wizard's hats right here.
Oh, I love that.
Wizard sleeves or hats?
Hats, Tommy Glass, hats.
Look, the first one is the gloves, and the second one is the sorting hat.
Okay, so these are the hinges of the vocal folds. They open and close the glottis, okay? So if we had the vocal process right here, that's where the vocal folds connect, and they're like the things that twist to make it open and close in the back. Like that. Okay? Everybody got that?
Yes.
I think so.
Wait. We'll see how it works a little bit more in this here. So the epiglottis, this is the thing that closes your vocal tract when you swallow, right? It's this leaf-shaped guy right up on top that we all see, like we see it's that in the videos, right? And it's what makes it swallow. Did I tell you guys about how like little kids, sometimes you can see them above their tongue?
Really?
Yeah. So like if you have like little students, sometimes their epiglottis is like really big, so if they open their mouth, it looks like they have a second tongue.
Does it shrink as you get older or something? What's the-
Well, yeah, so like you get bigger, and so
Oh, so
it
it's like-
covers it up. Weird, right? It looks like aliens.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so it like,
Or the whole thing.
it flops down on top of it.
But
Wow.
are there like nerve endings back there? Like, can they feel that?
What do you mean?
Like, if it's sticking up, like they have a second tongue, they can't feel that, can they? Because there's no nerve endings back there for them to
Probably
feel.
not, no.
Okay.
But you
I
can
feel like
see
it's like
it.
the.
I mean, can you feel your epiglottis?
No, but mine's also, down here rather than like.
I don't think it matters. I mean, so like if you open your mouth wide enough and stuck your larynx up at it, like that, I mean, like you can see it, when we went, you can stick, so like Garcia
My tongue's too high.
and Lamperti, these guys you're gonna read, they like stuck mirrors back there, and that's how they first started seeing all this stuff, when they were looking at all this. Weird. That was in like the 1800s. Alright, so the trachea, we talked about this with the lungs, right? This is the windpipe, it's super, super flexible, it's made of many ring-shaped cartilages, like that, that make up the tube, and it's like a little bendy straw or a dryer vent, something like that, it's like that kind of thing. It turns into the bronchial tubes down here, and at the carina bridge, near the lungs. Yeah.
Oh.
If you remember when we talked about birds, sea eject, just look up the rest of the lecture on YouTube. We're ready to go. Yeah. We said when the birds have a syrinx rather than larynx, their syrinx is right there. Right. Remember when we talked about that? How it like goes super fast. Sweet. Membranes. Thyrohyoid membrane is the one that's in between here and your hyoid bone. Ian, you were asking me about this in the beginning of the class when we were but that's like the little thing in between there. Cricothyroid membrane is the membrane between the cricoid and the thyroid down here. So it's these little like, it looks like paper or whatever, right? And then the area epiglottic fold is the mouth of the larynx. It makes the seal with the epiglottis and it forms the piriform sinus. It's this thing right here. So when the epiglottis closes, it goes over the area epiglottic fold. Okay? So it's like a little tube that sticks out.
It's like waterproofing.
Yeah, exactly. And it just closes on top of it.
And that's where your singer's phone is coming from.
Yeah, the singer's forming comes from the space outside of that tube. So if there's like, there's the tube that's inside of the bigger tube,
Oh.
and the resonance of that part over there is what your singer's forming comes from. They think they're not 100% sure because they can't physically model it, right? So they can't be like, oh, we absolutely know this, but they like know really close. And I think there's actually some studies that they've done that got really close. All right, vocal ligaments. We're all good with this so far? Pace is good? Not going too fast? Nobody? Good, great. Vocal ligaments. So these are the ligaments that run through your vocalis muscles. This is where, remember when we were talking about the arytenoid cartilage right there? The wizard's hat? Yep. The vocal ligament is attached to the point right there. It's called the vocal process. We'll talk about that though. And then it's attached down here to the point. Oh, I forgot the name of it. What do I call it? Anterior commissure.
So it's between the arytenoid cartilage and the vocal folds.
The vocal folds fill in this gap.
Right.
So if you remember, the vocal ligament runs through the lamina propria part of the vocal folds, right? So it's like the string that pulls them open and closed.
Okay.
Okay. Does that help? Yeah? Sweet. Alright, so the arytenoids to the anterior commissure and attach the arytenoids at the vocal process. That's the vocal process. Okay? Yeah? Alright. How we phonate. So adduction is closing of the vocal folds. Abduction is opening. Intrinsic laryngeal muscles stretch the folds and change how taut they are, thus changing the pitch, like a rubber band, right? It's more tight, it's higher. Extrinsic laryngeal muscles change the position of the larynx and mostly affect resonance. So when we go through all these muscles we're going to talk about, they're going to be intrinsic and extrinsic, kind of like they were exhalation and inspiration. Yeah? Cool. So we got that framework there. So the intrinsic laryngeal musculature is the thyroarytenoid, cricoarytenoid, lateral cricothyroid, you all can read these, okay? I don't need to go through it. Well, we're going to talk about each one of them. Yep. Thyroarytenoid muscle, so TA is short for that. This is like one of the most important ones you're going to know. This is like knowing your diaphragm of your larynx. So its origin is at the thyroid and the vocal process of the arytenoid, like this. Okay? So this is your arytenoids, this is your anterior commissure, where it connects.
Your what? Your anterior what?
Commissure.
Oh.
Where it attaches to the front of where your Adam's apple is. And the vocal ligament runs through this, right? Clear on this?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I thought the vocal ligament was the little like white part right there on the very edge.
Yeah. So it runs the same direction as this
Okay.
muscle, is what I mean.
Oh, that makes
It's not,
sense.
I'm not being super strict.
Okay.
Alright, so the primary body of the vocal fold, fibers go transverse and horizontally, like this, right? It's very flexible, similar to a tongue muscle. It's got that kind of squishiness to it. And it shortens and thickens the fold, lowering your pitches. So this muscle is what is responsible for chest voice. Okay? It's your TA muscle. Because when we shorten and thicken, it gets more floppy and gets lower, right? If we think about it that way. If we tighten and get tighter, it gets higher.
Is that, I don't know anything about it, 'cause I'm not a girl, but is that what women use for belting? Like,
Yep.
same thing?
Yeah,
Cool,
it's chest voice up higher.
right on.
But I mean, you can mix them, so there's not like, there is a line between chest and head voice,
Yeah,
but it can move,
right.
okay?
Yeah.
So you're always gonna be like in one or the other, but you can mix it.
It's a spectrum.
We'll talk about it. But there is a clear delineation between when you are and when. Because you can't, the reason you can't do that, because you can't switch from chest to head voice holding the same note.
Yeah.
Okay, try it in the practice room and we will talk.
Good.
Holding the same note, you have to go.
Yeah, I know. There's a few notes in between that it's basically.
All right, guys.
Sorry.
I want to get through the CT muscles
That's
before
my
we're
fault.
out of class. I think we'll make it. But, good. Shortens. So it's responsible for chest voice. This is also called the vocalis muscle. So if somebody talks about the vocalis muscle, it's the same as the thyroid arytenoid muscle or TA muscle. Okay? There's 3 different names for it. But that is technically only the medial side outside of the vocal ligament. So if you have the vocal ligament that runs through it, technically the vocalis muscle is what the vibrating part of it is on the inside. Okay? If we're gonna get super technical. But when you go back and you read these pedagogy books that are designed for singers to read, they mix them all up. Just like when we talk about cover, we talk about 4 different things. Okay? And there's no like, that's part of the problem with the teaching is there's no like canonical way of talking about everything, which is getting more and more. And that's part of the reason you guys take this class, is so that you know what everything means, right?
What's going on?
Exactly. Cricothyroid. So this is the other main muscle, okay? If you're gonna have a diaphragm and the other one is your abdominal muscles, that makes you exhalate, this is the antagonist of the thyroid. So origin is at the cricoid, right? This is our signet ring guy. And the insertion is the thyroid up here. It's the antagonist to the TA muscle and tilts the thyroid forward. So if we have our cricoid and we have our thyroid, it goes like this. And back. Okay? So what that actually does is because the vocal folds are attached to the front of the thyroid, it stretches them forward and makes them more taut. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they don't actually do anything directly to the vocal folds.
Yes, it does.
They move the thyroid.
It
And the
moves the thyroid, which moves the anterior commissure, which stretches
Right.
the vocal folds tighter.
Indirect stretching.
So if some voice teacher that a lot of us know is talking about tilting your thyroid, he's talking about that.
This is responsible for.
Did you mean fins?
Yes. What is it?
Lengthens and thins?
Yes.
Oh man, I suck at this one.
It's okay, things is a word, you couldn't have known that.
Yeah, I could have actually edited it.
I was talking to the computer,
Oh, okay.
the computer couldn't have known.
The computer didn't. Alright, so it's responsible for head voice and high pitches, because when we stretch and get thinner, that's when we get to our head voice, okay? Make sense?
Yes.
So TA muscle is responsible for chest voice, CT muscle is for head voice, okay? Good. Can we keep going, you guys?
Yes.
I know we've got 10 minutes, but we'll get as far as we can, because next class we're gonna have arts and crafts time.
We love arts and crafts, Chris.
Okay, lateral cricothyroid. How long exactly? Okay, I got 10 minutes. Let me try and get through all these like acronym ones. So this is the LCA. It's this one right here. So if this pulls the arytenoid wizard's hat cartilage, right? If it pulls it this way, right? So if we get the origin, superior lateral surface of the cricoid right down here, that's the origin. Insertion, it's muscular process of the arytenoid right here. Pulls the insertion towards the arytenoid. It closes the vocal folds.
Because it stretches them out.
No,
Oh.
because it's taking these,
Oh, and it twists.
it twists it. Right? So relax, it's open, flex, and it closes it.
Amazing.
Interessante.
Okay?
Doesn't change properties of pitch, just closes the folds.
It closes the folds, exactly.
Wow.
That's all it does. Rotates the arytenoids to close the posterior glottis, and it's the adductor muscle, okay? You need to know that it attaches to the muscular process of the arytenoid because there's the vocal process, which is where the vocalis attaches right here, right? And then that's a different process we'll talk about in a little bit, okay? So that's the one that closes your muscles.
And I don't know if oh, okay, we'll talk about it in a second. Alright, interarytenoid, this is the one that goes in between the arytenoids right here. It's the muscular process of the arytenoid, so it's the same one right here. It's this side. So it's the same as the muscle we just talked about, and then it inserts into the opposite arytenoid. So it closes the small space left by the arytenoids. So if we got these two things, these are the arytenoids, right? And if they're open, right, so that's which one? Abduct or adductor?
Abduct.
Yep, good, so they're open. And then we pull on the muscle down here to close them, right? We've got a space right here,
Yeah.
right? And so this one, the IA muscle, closes that space.
Ah, so you need both of them in tandem
Yep.
to close it completely.
Yes,
It's a twist and a
because they're triangle shaped, they need to go,
aha.
okay?
That is very confusing,
Yes.
because they're moving that way and that way at the same time.
Yep, because there's two of them, so it just closes the gap between.
No, I mean, I realize there are two muscles, but the last picture had the arrows going that way, and this picture has the arrows going that way.
Yeah, because that's the motion that's moving them. So these two, so this is the last one, the LCA muscle, right? It's closed. We can
Yeah.
phonate, but we've got space right here, so if we phonated, we would sound breathy.
Yeah.
So we have to do this one and go and bring them together, so we don't sound breathy.
So the lateral cricothyroid basically rotates and the interytenoid pushes them entirely together.
Yes,
So it's two different types of motion. It's a rotation at the same time as a walk.
yep,
Cool.
Cool, very cool,
Yep.
amazing.
that's cool. So, and actually, so part of the reason when you teach young girls or something that's sing breathy, they can't get that closer to happen all the way. Because of the size of their larynx and the size of their arytenoids. So, and even like young boys sound breathy all the time because they can't close it, because they're not big enough so that the arytenoids and everything isn't like large enough for these muscles actually articulate the right way. Okay? Which is why they sound breathy. And isn't that like interesting? Because you identify like breathy sound with children all the time. You're like, why is that? That it's because of this.
Wow,
You know, it's something so little.
they're little lizard hats.
Okay, posterior cricothyroid. So this is the other one back here. This is the one that abducts, opens them up. Okay? Posterior of the cricoid, so down here, inserts into the muscular process of the arytenoid. So this is the same process that the last two insert into. And it pulls them open. Right? So if I got my pencils, we're right here. It's these ones, but it's like attached down here, and so it pulls them together. And abducts. Okay?
Okay.
Makes sense?
It's the opposing motion to the LCA.
Yep.
Great.
Love it.
Because that closes, and this one opens.
Antagonist of the LCA,
I
like you
see
just
that.
wrote there. Sorry.
Oh, it's like I prepared this last
Huh.
or something. Okay, let me see really quick what we got left. Let's talk about the swallowing muscles, and then we'll be done.
Stupid idiot God.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, let's do that.
I'm just blaming God for putting it.
Alright, swallowing muscles, y'all. Okay, so there's three. They're called constrictors. I don't have those on there. Sorry. Okay, the aryepiglottic muscle. That's this one, right here. So it's the arytenoid and the epiglottis. It closes the epiglottis, closes it down, right?
Ooh, I love it.
So that is in your larynx. It's just important to know. Okay. So when you swallow, you flex that muscle and you close it so that you don't get food going into your lungs.
Got it.
Alright, thyroepiglottic muscle, that's this one. Right, so this one is this muscle that pulls it this way, right? So it closes this gap. This one is the one that opens the epiglottis. So it stretches it open and it comes back up. Okay?
Why does your larynx go up when you swallow?
Because of the constrictor muscles.
Which
We
are which
haven't gotten
ones?
there yet.
Oh,
Oh,
Sorry.
great.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Okay, so just trust me. There's enough muscles for one day, right? I keep running into this. Alright, these muscles can adjust the aryepiglottic fold, which changes the singer's formant.
okay? So when, belting people use these muscles in singing a lot.
Got it.
Okay, we don't want to use them so much because it's hard to control them. Because we don't use, because you know when you belt and you go, ah, and you like lengthen up your larynx and everything, it involves these muscles too. Okay,
Interesting.
yep. Good, let's go through this slide and then we'll be done. So the false vocal folds, we talked about those are the growl guys right here. We don't need them, dogs use them for growling. The laryngeal ventricles, the small spaces between the folds, and they produce a little mucus right there. Because it keeps your vocal folds lubricated. If they're not lubricated, you get bruises on them and it hurts a lot, right? That's when you get nodes. Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Everybody has notes.
Alright, so let's talk for a second. Next time we're gonna talk about onset and offset and all that junk. So I found this. I was gonna have you guys do this for homework, but since we can go through this stuff so fast, you all don't have to do it for homework. We're gonna do it in class, okay? We're gonna build our own little larynx models out of paper. They are, it's this thing.
Yeah.
So it's like a cutout, and then we will like put it all together. Okay.
If I have one of these from undergrad, can I just bring it?
No, we're gonna do it together. Did you do this exact thing?
Yeah. But it's cool. It was really fun.
It's
So I'm sure it'll be fun again.
So I need people to bring scissors. Does anybody have scissors?
Ranch has one pair of scissors.
One person, I'm glad everybody knew that. So, anybody bring scissors that has them so we can share, okay? I have glue sticks and we need little pins to put them in. I'm gonna bring those. Cool. Okay? So we're gonna do that together, and if you wanna make them really pretty, you can color them in. So bring color pencils.
What do we get extra credit for?
Yes, you will get brownie points.
Well, okay, are brownie points redeemable for best
No.
grade? That would be the information I would have.
I like it. It's not, I want you guys to know. Okay, so we're gonna do that in class. We're gonna finish this last slide. We're gonna finish the foundation stuff. And then we have the test will be after that. So we'll have another review day that's not next time.
This is on Tuesday, right?
Yeah, this is on Tuesday. Am I wrong? Did I say Thursday or something?
No, I'm just confirming.
Okay, yeah, it's on Tuesday. Am I right? Am I screwing? Yeah, so Tuesday we'll do that, then we'll have a review, and then we'll have another day for the tests, and I'll figure out what we're gonna do that day. Okay?
Great!
Well, also, I'm gonna look at that like 3D model program. We're gonna go through that and look at all the respiratory muscles too.
So other than reviewing all of the things, is there anything else that we need to do other than reviewing all the things and bringing scissors?
You have to review all the things and bring scissors. Yes. So on this test that we're gonna have coming up, so that we're gonna skip that week of class, we're doing 2 really big chapters on the same test. Okay.
All the muscles.
So we're doing the respiratory muscles and we're doing this phonation stuff.
Okay.
Is that okay? Now, the other option is I could split them up so that they're 2 different tests, but then we'll have both of those tests the week before spring break. No? You want to put them together? I don't think it's like too much information to put together, so
Just do it.
you just want to do it together? Okay.
Like all of them, just do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It'll be a longer test than the last one,
Yeah.
but remember, it's pictures and telling me what they do,
Right.
right? Okay.
All right.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
I think it's great.
But this
Alright.
is right before spring break, that's what you just said.
Yep,
Like
it's
that
the
big?
Thursday before spring break. That's when that big test will be. But so just study that if you can, because it's a lot of material you don't want to study it the night before. Okay? Sweet. All right, guys, all done.
I'll give you $5 if you can tell me what that's from.
If you have any questions about like what to do with your tests or anything, if you want to do that, just
Guys,
comment.
guys.